This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
Alright, Fact Check This podcast, episode 51, and today we're going to have a look at Biden's stimulus packages that never end. But we also, at the same time, have to look at the Biden tax plans that are increasingly changing. So, I think one of the major issues that we kind of have with all of this is people don't understand how much money is actually involved in all of this stuff. So, for the most recent stimulus spending bill, we've got 1.9 trillion. And the other stimulus bills that had come before that were like 2 trillion. I think the first one was 2 trillion. And then the one after that was like 3.2 trillion. And then this one is 1.9 trillion. And there's talk of like another 3 trillion, 3.5 trillion, something like that. But the problem is, with all of the money that's taken in by the government in taxes every year, it doesn't even cover one of these stimulus bills. And they're talking about these increased tax rates on the wealthy, these wealth tax on anybody making over $200,000, which was originally supposed to be $400,000, but never mind any of that. No one should expect campaign promises to be kept, right? So, all of the additional taxing that's going to be done, it was projected that that'll only generate like somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 billion per year. So adding an extra 400 billion still doesn't put a dent in any of these spending plans. And that's just the COVID stimulus plans. That has nothing, not even looking at the trillions upon trillions that they spend in just regular defense contracts and everything else that the government is blowing money on. So at this point, why would you even have taxes at all? The government can just print more money when it's out, right? Because that's what they're doing. Like, our taxes are covering less than half of all of the government's spending. And the government's not going to stop spending. They're not going to slow down their spending. They're going to continue to spend more, as a matter of fact. So, like, how does all of this work out? And what's the point of even having taxes at that point? Because really, I mean, if we look at it, we aren't paying taxes to fund the government. The government is doing whatever it wants and funding itself. As I've talked about this before, but like it's all just play money. It's all play money. It was funny. My wife earlier today, we were talking about it, and she said we should just stop paying our bills since they're gonna superinflate everything to the point that it collapses and it's not gonna matter. It's like, well, we can keep paying our bills. It doesn't hurt anything to continue to pay our bills, because at the end of the day, it's all just numbers in a computer somewhere. None of it's real. None of it actually exists. So, when you take all of the money that supposedly is out there and you divide it by 0, it's still going to come out to 0. Like, none of it has any actual value. So, if we pay our bills are paid. If we don't pay our bills, when it all goes to 0, it's still 0. So, it doesn't hurt one way or the other. It's not like we're going to pull some magical value out of the imaginary numbers that are plugged into a computer somewhere when the economy completely tanks and everything goes, straight into the shitter. It's not gonna have value. We're not we're not saving anything by not paying bills at that point, because once it zeroes out, it's all zero. Anything divided by zero equals zero, and that's what we're coming to. Like that's kind of the end sum game of all of this. Is it's all about to hit zero real quick at the rate they're going. So I wanted to look at an article from the Mises Institute that it says, if the headline is, if deficits don't matter, why bother with taxes? And so this kind of goes into some of the like Keynesian economics and looks at modern monetary theory, which if you've ever balanced a checkbook and have even like the slightest idea about how money works and understand numbers a little bit, Keynesian economics and modern monetary theory make absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. But somehow these are the economic concepts and principles that our country is being run on. So you can figure out pretty quickly if you study those a little bit just why we are in such dire straits as what we currently are. So one of the things that they talk about with and this is an economic scholar that they talk about throughout this article, and one of her key points for why she thinks taxes are still necessary, even though the deficit spending that the government is engaged in has basically made our tax dollars useless. Like they're not serving any purpose to fund the government, right? And one of the things that she states like it's a good thing is that taxes remove dollars from our hands so that we can't spend them. And she makes the presumption that government knows better how to spend our money than we do. Has anybody seen the U.S. Postal Service and the disarray that's in? I just got my tax packet back from our accountant. It was mailed on February 27th, and we just got it in on Thursday. Has anyone seen the roads? Like the jokes about potholes and stuff? It's all funny to see the memes of a car disappearing into a pothole and then reappearing out of another pothole somewhere. Our tax dollars are supposed to be going to fix that. And Domino's Pizza was doing a better job of repairing the roads than actual state and local road departments are. Has anybody seen the just complete malfunction that is the educational system and the way that's being funded? Kenneth and I talked about that a few weeks ago with looking at like private schools and school choice and everything like that. But if you really dig into the numbers at the federal and the state level as far as where the money goes and what it's being spent for, it's something outrageous. It's like 70 to 80% of every tax dollar that's taken for education actually goes towards administrative, and it doesn't go anywhere near the kids. Like it never sees the kids. Like 20 to 30%, maybe, if even that much, is all that'll go to the actual kids. All the rest of it goes to administrative fees and funding the government that is wrecking these systems. So how can we look at any of this and think, yeah, taxes are a good idea. They're definitely serving a purpose. We should definitely be giving more money to the government, because they will definitely spend it better than we will. They know better than what we do where our money needs to go. They have this beautiful track record of how frequently and regularly they succeed with all of their ventures, right? or not at all. The more you look into this, and I've got a couple articles that I have posted over the last few days that look at all of this different stuff, especially the one that goes into, it's from Market Watch, and it goes pretty in depth on all of the trillions, and the fact that people don't understand numbers. Like that's what it boils down to. People don't understand numbers, and so they have no idea what any of these numbers actually mean, or how big they are, or how just insurmountable they are. You could literally take the entire net wealth of every billionaire in this country and maybe run the country for a week. Maybe. I don't think you even make it that far. The problem is not billionaires. The problem is not corporate greed. The problem is not any other external source. The problem comes directly from the government and everything they do to completely fuck everything they touch at every turn. That's really what it boils down to. It's that simple. All right, and as for part 2, carrying on with the way that the government really tends to just kind of ruin everything it touches, let's have a look at Jen Psaki. And I got a detour before I even hit it, because there's so many. I keep seeing, like, I read 3, 4, 5 articles a day that talk about Biden's plans for this and the Biden administration doing that, and Biden. And it's always Jen Psaki says it. Jen Psaki. Jen fucking Psaki. Biden never actually says anything. Biden doesn't, like, he is the name and the face that is rolled out for all of this, but he never has anything to say about any of it. Like, his one press conference was such a just complete fucking joke, and then his Stephanopoulos interview was every bit that's as much of a joke, if not more so. Like, Biden is just the puppet that they're dangling up there for everybody to see, but all of this stuff is coming from somewhere else, and it's being put out there by Jen Psaki. So as far as I'm concerned, she's more of the president than what Biden is at this point. But they're going to start to push for executive orders on gun control. So we're just going to completely ignore the entire Constitution. Not that should come as a surprise. Like, most of what the government does completely ignores the Constitution. But we're just going to fully throw it out. Ignore the Second Amendment and everything else, and push for executive order gun control laws. And here's my problem. Well, number one, that's unconstitutional. And as soon, if it's done, the Supreme Court, like, I've never believed that the Supreme Court would actually hear a Second Amendment related case. Like, I just don't see it happening. There's too much controversy to be had, regardless of the outcome of their decision. So like, they'll avoid that like the plague. But if Biden takes off with executive orders on that, they won't be left with a choice. Like, they're going to have to step in and do something, because it's going to hit that point. Like, that is a crossing of the Rubicon, so to speak. So that's where it could get really interesting. But the biggest problem that I have with all of it is, and the number is disputed. It could be anywhere from 3,000 to 20,000 gun control laws that are currently on the books. And the fact that it could be anywhere from 3,000 to 20,000, and nobody actually seems to know, and there don't seem to be any good records as to which of these numbers is right, or if any number is right, should show you everything you need to know about just how totally screwed up this is. Like, they don't even know what all laws are on the books to begin with. They have no idea. It's so if anywhere from 3 to 20,000 gun control laws and regulations and restrictions are already in place, what are any others going to do? Like, how are any more going to solve the problem? How are any more laws or regulations going to change literally anything? It doesn't matter if it goes through the House and it goes through the Senate and it gets passed through on a 60 vote majority or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's an executive order. It doesn't matter if it comes from the fucking Supreme Court. It is very, very well proven that none of them accomplish anything because there are so many, nobody knows how many there are. So here we are looking for more gun control when the current gun control that already exists has no bearing on it. And why does it have no bearing on it? Because criminals don't fucking care about the laws. In fact, a lot of the times, like, the people that are, so in several of the instances here lately, the people who are carrying out these shootings, they went through all the legal channels. Like, so what additional regulations could you put in place that's going to change that? Like, that it's not, it's illogical, it's nonsensical. I don't even know what else to say about it at this point. Gun control is not the problem. Laws and regulations and all of that stuff, that's not the problem. There is a stigma that has been created about guns that is absolutely ludicrous. They are treated like some horrible killing machine when the only times that's the case is when it's a actual horrible person on the other end of it. I literally carry that gun right there everywhere I go. Anytime I'm out in public, that's on me. It doesn't just go off shooting people on its own. In the event that someone were to do something, I have the means to stop that person very quickly, and I am more than willing to do so. There was the shooter in Texas church a few years ago, and he shot maybe one person. Or maybe killed one and shot two. If you looked at the right camera angle from that church, a guy carrying in the church put that shooter down almost immediately. If you looked at the right camera angle, there were also 4 other people in that church who had weapons drawn, ready to take this guy down. Removing the stigma that a gun is anything more than a tool and a means of protection, a means of self-defense, is the only way that we take positive steps towards fixing this. Check out the philosopher on Facebook and Twitter. She posts stuff all the time pertaining to the Second Amendment and people using guns to protect themselves, to protect their families, and to stop active shooters before they have a chance to do anything horrible. I really don't know where else to go with this, because it's to think that we have so many regulations on the books that we don't even have an accurate measure of how many there really are, and that more is going to be a solution, is fucking stupid. Government does not exist to fix problems. They only create more problems so that they can claim they need more money so that they can fix the problems. That's it for today's episode. I'll be back on Wednesday with what will be episode 52. So just ignore the intro part where I say episode 51, because originally I was planning on having that as the release for today, but with the actual content of the episode, I felt like it was better to do a Wednesday release on that. And if you come back and you check it out, you'll understand exactly why the Wednesday release was what made sense for that one. Giles Miller comes back on the show, and we're going to talk about Easter and get into a whole bunch of other stuff as well. There will be two different versions. There will be a short version where we just kind of hit the Easter part of it and really get into the Easter story and how all of that works out. But then there's also a longer part where we get a lot more in-depth to the whole Easter story. Plus we talk about a lot of other biblical stuff, and like we kind of trail off, and it's really an excellent conversation. And please check these out and give us all the feedback that you can. Like, we want to know what people think about these episodes and what your thoughts are on kind of the study that we did together, going through this whole thing and looking at the Easter holiday and the way all of that actually works. So hope everybody has a good day. I hope you come back on Wednesday and check that out and give us all the feedback in the world, because we want to continue our conversations on biblical topics and kind of get more in depth on different stuff. So give us feedback so we know what kind of questions people have about stuff, so we can tailor those episodes and get meaningful content out of them. And hope you have a good one.